Hello, MNDers. Chris here to let you in on how to get a free audiobook and a 30-day free trial from Audible. Because you're a listener of this podcast, all you have to do is go to audibletrial.com/MND podcast. Once you're there, you can choose from over 180,000 titles, including the latest additions to my library. So I have Astrophysics for People in a Hurry by Neil deGrasse Tyson, Vagabonding by Rolf Potts, and Ready Player One by Ernest Cline. So to download your free audiobook, go to audibletrial.com/MND podcast. If you do, you'll be glad you did. Now, cue the intro music. Four wives. Married, not dead. So I had a question I wanted to pose to everyone, and we'll go one by one, and then just hold your thoughts and then expound upon it afterwards. So we'll go back around. But Jason, were you bullied in junior high school or high school? Just a yes or no. Okay. Nick, were you bullied in junior high or high school?
No.
Brian, were you bullied in junior high or high school?
Yes.
Okay. So Jason,
How about you?
I have this theory. How
about you?
Let me think. It's really, so I want to.
Yes
Black
or
people
no?
aren't ever bullied, are they? Is that how they're-
No, because I was bullied in
Everybody's scared of the black guy.
I would say yes. My answer would be yes. But I want to be clear that to me, bullying isn't when your friends are giving you shit. Your friends are allowed to give you shit. If your friends can't give you shit, guess what? They're not your friend. They should be able to push you, actually, because I think that kind of thing is the only thing that kind of can make you better and make you self-aware of some of your blind spots. And that's what friends do for one another. So bullying to me is when someone you don't even know is, fucking with you. Just to be clear about what I think it is. So my friends joked on me all the time, and that's never not existed in my life up to this minute. But yeah, outside of that, yeah, I was bullied a little bit, especially in junior high, especially early in high school, like in the first 3-4 years. I remember I was in high school 6 years. So it was a big deal for me. So let me ask you this, Jason. What was I know this is going to get touchy, but what was the word that was used to describe you when you were being bullied, again, by someone you didn't know that was just fucking with you?
No, I knew all these people.
Oh, you knew them? They were your friends that were bullying you?
Not really. No. Okay. No. I mean, they, at some point, they're your classmates. You know them, going to school.
No, I mean, you don't know them. Like, they're not in your crew.
No. I didn't hang with any of them.
What was the word?
Faggot.
Faggot was your word. That was number one. Okay, Brian, what about you?
So two different narratives. One was, poor. So, you just got joked on for having USA 1000 shoes, like whatever Kmart shoes there were.
Ditto.
And then the other was fuzzy because of my hair. Because I've got kind of that's why I usually have always kept my hair short. Because once it gets so long, it just gets, like a big fuzzy ball mess. You know what I mean? And it's just part of who I am. But, when you're a little kid and that's all they call you, I can remember going home crying. So yeah, it's something else.
Yeah. I got joked on hard for my clothes, amongst many, many other things. I remember having a terrible rumor about me in high school too, that, was, propagated by, my best friend's girlfriend because she thought I was operating against their relationship when the exact opposite was true. And that one was pretty tough and kind of broke my heart. And honestly, I was called the N-word more than I really thought I was going to be, based on just how light I am and how white I talk, quote unquote, white I talk, which is a way that Black people used to make fun of me as well. So I kind of got it from both sides, and my sister Michelle did too. But I touch on that faggot one because I feel like every guy in high school at one point or another gets called gay for doing something, or faggot, or this, and we're very, very defensive of that. Jason, talk to us about that, because you got called that name. Why do you think you got called that more than anything else? And do you think we're ever going to take the bite out of the words?
It was his long flowing locks and his kilt. I mean,
the kilt did kind of confuse people. Well, number one, I think I'm certain that we are taking some of the sting out of it, and it's not, for a lot of people, that's not they don't see that as an insult, and they shouldn't necessarily, but and we'll get back to the primal part and whether it's women's fault or not, so for me, when I was about 13, it probably started. I was pretty. I had long eyelashes and bright red lips. And I was attractive without being masculine yet, which is, that can hurt. I was a hit. I was a hit amongst gay men, I didn't see them often in my life, right, where I lived, but I knew immediately that was something that I was uncomfortable with.
How'd you overcome
it? Knowing gay people.
Just knowing gay people helped you overcome getting called that, being bullied in that way?
Yeah, I didn't overcome the bullying. I mean, the bullying, it started, and I always had a problem. And look, we talk about, it's when things are true that they really get you. And that's accurate. That is accurate. But it all comes down to what other people know.
Right.
So, or what your surroundings value. And if they believe, I don't care if it's true or not, if they believe something about you and they find that awful, or incredibly unattractive, as female or weak, and you having less value, and you value them not thinking that, it matters just as much.
Right.
It was me. It was gym class. The guy started calling. I always had a problem. Like shit bothers me, right? I'm sensitive like this. So I would react. They knew it bothered me. And so I think it started out as fun. It didn't start out to be mean, but then they just kept going with it. And it was constantly until, I was that kid that I thought I would like to come in here with a semi-automatic.
Oh my goodness.
and take them down.
Right. Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, not in a way where
you had Columbine thoughts.
Right. Yeah. I wasn't like looking for the trench coat mafia there, but I was, I thought, especially so after, like it gets out of control, especially, I know it's better now, so it's probably a moot point, but maybe not, maybe in different areas of the country. So in small town, Midwestern Indiana, where, the Bible is everything, and, they don't have to deal with gay people. They're still, I don't know, whatever they were back then. It wasn't positive, that's a huge thing. And even I remember, I think even my gym teacher, Mr. Lakes, I remember I finally stood up for myself. We were playing wiffle ball outside, and one of the guys, what was his? There you go, buddy. He was pitching, and
be some
he kept
barking
calling.
orders on that one. Thank you. But go ahead. Yeah.
He kept calling me. He kept saying it, and finally I threw the bat, and I said, let's go. And I don't know, I called him a motherfucker or something like that. And my gym teacher, Mr. Lakes, I don't remember his first name, but he stopped the game and said, McConnell, run laps until class is over. And I ran around the softball track, crying, while the rest of the class laughed at me. And I ran lap after lap until class was over. That's funny. That still hurts somehow.
Of course. Yeah, man.
Yeah, I'm mainly the teacher. But I mean, that was an adult. And I think he probably thought, hey, those guys are probably right. So we're going to make the faggot run.
Man.
I think that was it. So, it really didn't matter. It wasn't me. Oh, I'm trying to figure out my sexuality. No, it was just, I loved girls and they weren't going to love me when they heard that. And I wanted to be one of the guys. I wanted to be respected and tough and feared like the rest of them and athletic and manly. And I wasn't. And that was it was a big thing. I don't think it's there as much anymore for the most part. And I hope not. And
I think it is. My son's going through the same thing. He's hasn't hit puberty yet. He's 14 and a half. And hasn't had like his puberty at all. Hasn't had a growth spurt, and he's very, very pretty for a boy. And I think it plays out in his friend groups. I mean, he ends up with girls as friends, and to the point where I've asked him, "Hey, do you like girls, or do you you know what I'm saying? Like, what's the situation? Like, I say it's cool either way. Just tell me." He's like, "No, Dad, don't be weird. You're being weird." And who knows?
I think you're right.
But I think he hasn't hit puberty yet, so he's pretty in this non-masculine way.
Right. And that's also hard for kids because I think sometimes they get marginalized, and I don't know. Maybe sometimes you think, well, maybe I am. I don't. You hear it enough. To BC's point, I never did that naturally, but you hear it enough. You have enough gay men check you out, and you're called at at school. Whether you actually wonder it on your own or not, you go, is that what I'm supposed to be?
Right.
So that's tough. I feel for any kid who's still in that. And it sucks that it still exists, even in a bigger place like we are here than I grew up in. But yeah, so, does it belong to women, because they put them in the friend group and that, yeah, maybe, but they're no more responsible for their reaction to finding the best breeder than we as males are for finding the best surrogate for that breeding. I mean, you know what I mean? Like that's not.
Yeah, it's a tough.
It's all primal. It all has to do with reproduction.
And I think that in one hand we're taking two steps forward, and then I think in another way, the way that the media and the way that television and movies and advertisement sort of promote the LGBT community in a way can sometimes take us two steps backwards. I saw a guy on TV. He's on a show. His name is Ammo, by the way. Let's just start there. AMMO. And he's on a show called The Dirty 30. It's on MTV. And he describes himself as a pansexual non-binary. And I don't know what that, I had to figure out what that meant, but you also don't know how to approach somebody that introduces themselves that way. And it's not, to normalize things, you would want, I think, to say, hey, I'm Ammo, and just leave it at that. But now, because of the way we politicize and the whole, this age of and culture of political correctness, if he doesn't state that he's Ammo and I'm pansexual non-binary, he has the right to be offended when maybe you ask him why he's going to the women's restroom.
Right.
And
or call them, hey man.
Yeah,
Or say, hey
yeah.
man. Yeah.
And now you're in a shitstorm because you didn't realize that you were supposed to. I don't even know how to address someone that introduces themselves. I'll be honest, and maybe I'm a caveman. How did you address someone who is pansexual, non-binary in a non-offensive way?
I have a question.
Do you know Brian? Do you know Nick?
Did he identify as anything else?
No. Hi, I'm Ammo. I'm pansexual, non-binary.
Interesting. Yeah, so
He only identified in terms of sex.
well, it's sex and gender. So pansexual basically means that you can be attracted to someone or have a relationship with someone
With anyone or anything.
Well, yeah, when you don't care about their sexual preference or gender. It's like that's basically they're saying they have the blinders on to that. And then non-binary basically means you can't put me in a box, right? That's the idea. Is like it's not just about do I want to have sex with a boy or have sex with a girl. Like I'm non-binary. That's what that means. So
right.
So that's what I was trying to figure out. I guess he didn't identify as anything else. So it's almost like that person's making more of a statement about themselves, not their sexuality. It's like I have put the blinders on to what everyone else considers like you have to put yourself in a box. You're either this or that, right? You're transgender, you're gay, you're homosexual, you're lesbian, you're one of the things. And it's a statement that it sounds like to me this person was making that, don't call me any of these things. Don't call me LGBT or Q. You know what I'm saying?
Or you just call me Ammo.
Exactly. I think that was the thing. It was like, but it is odd. Again, I don't know the context of that discussion for someone to introduce themselves that way, unless they felt they needed to defend themselves or something. It's just an odd thing. But yeah, I don't know where you go with that other than to say, okay.
I think it might be odd, but I don't think it's abnormal.
Yeah, something you just say, okay, and you move on and have like a legit conversation.
I think you have to walk on eggshells. Brian, what do you think? I mean, would you ever introduce yourself stating that you were pan something else maybe and also non-binary along with your name?
No. Come on, no.
No.
Well,
no, I will say if this guy was in Game of Thrones, he'd be from Dorne. Anyway, some people get that.
I'm totally with you. I'm totally
no idea.
You're my people.
I'm totally. He would totally be from Dorne. That's such a great.
Yes.
All you got. If you guys Google a picture of him, you'll see, and then he would totally be like modern day Dorne, though, Brian.
Hey, but real quick, was there any context?
The context was that he's on a show on TV, so he needs to introduce himself. So there are 30 contestants on the show, the Dirty 30. So one's like, hey, I'm Johnny Bananas. Hey, I'm Jenna.
What's the show?
Hey, I'm Ammo. I'm a pansexual non-binary.
Wait, what's the show?
Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah, what's the show?
MTV's Dirty 30.
I know, but what's it about?
It's a contest show.
It's on MTV.
So here we go, right? The good point, Jay. Right. So I'm on that.
It's a competition show.
On MTV, it's a competition show. That means it's about sex. So that made sense. That context.
No. It's like physical competition.
Same difference.
Like American Ninja Warrior, but for teenagers.
But it's on MTV.
Exactly.
At some point.
Thank you very much.
Good point.
Exactly.
Good point.
I don't think he's going to job interviews, introducing himself that way. And in a way, just by wearing a wedding ring, aren't we all kind of like introducing ourselves in a certain way?
Not anymore.
Well, not anymore, but you've chosen a gender.
I would agree with that. Yeah. But it's not the statement.
But that's more of a betrothed. I belong to, not necessarily. I mean, at the core of that, it wasn't a claim to your sexuality as much as it was your sexual status of I can't have sex with you.
Yeah, I guess in my narrative that I've got going in my head when I've listened to all this is that what I hear that guy saying is that I'm open. Like, I'm an individual and I'm open.
I love that point. I love Nick's point, Brian. I do. Like, But why haven't we, like, why does he need to introduce himself that way as if we're not? I feel like I'm open.
Because he doesn't believe
I'm
it.
open to
It's a
things.
fucking
Exactly.
television show.
No. That's it.
You know,
right? It's a shock value, man. When you say something like that, it's
29 other
reality.
contestants had the ability to do the same thing, and not one of them did it.
No. But he did it. That's his thing. That's his shtick. You know. So that's
what I'm
he did
saying.
it,
We're doing a shtick around gender and sexuality, which I think takes 2 steps backwards from the forward progress we're making as a culture.
Yes, it
That's my
totally
point.
does. Totally does.
Do you think Ammo is helping or hurting this cause, Jason?
He's hurting it.
Yeah,
he's hurting it, and he's only saying it because he's not sure he believes it either.
I think if you're in
shock value,
I think if you're raising or waving the same exact flag as he is, it's probably just a white flag, right? Because it's non-binary and so. But if you were waving the same flag, then right, it would be great. Then you're thinking that it's a great thing.
Nick.
You know, and maybe if so, that's what I'm saying. I don't think it's either way. I think maybe for you and Jay, it might be like, yeah, it's taking us 2 steps back. I think for some other people, they're like, oh yeah, right on. You know, that's how it should be. Who knows, man?
Yeah, but you can't drag. That's the problem, though. Is you can't. I mean, my whole issue with this being a thing is that. Like it's, you know, when you do something so drastic, I don't know, maybe it brings the meter up for you a little bit, and because you've raised the bar so high that it can't ever get there, but it raises it a couple of notches, you know, the actual level on its own. You know, it throws so many people off in an opposite direction, and I think it causes a turmoil and doesn't accept. Like, you know,
how did you feel about Frank Ocean's performance? Of Forrest Gump, that track.
I don't. I've seen Frank Ocean perform once, and I was not a fan. But
that was when he did Forrest Gump.
Was that when
he was super nervous?
Yeah, he was super nervous. So it was a super weak performance, but you kind of knew what the point was behind that, right? He was coming out like in front of everybody with that track, because everybody knows what that track's about. But yeah, it was. But what I was going to say, I mean, Chris, you saw it. So what do you think? Do you think that set the cause back, or do you think it promoted it, pushed it forward?
I am so biased on Frank Ocean. I love the song Forrest Gump. I think it's fantastic. I love everything that Frank Ocean does. I think he is the modern day Lauryn Hill, even though Lauryn Hill is still with us. But he's a genius. He has a sense of mood and emotive. He's able to emote in a way that his peers are not. And so for me, I just couldn't help but see it as 2 steps forward.
Yeah. So I think some other people might, I think to Jason's point, might have been put off by it, right? Because it's in their narrative, in their face in a way where, you know, it's like, I just came to listen to some music and now I got this guy professing his love. You know, it might have set some people back.
I didn't even catch any of that.
In that culture.
Exactly. In that culture.
I'd like to say that there's that culture, probably not with the Frank Ocean thing. And I didn't even know, I didn't notice anything about the homosexual lyrics. I was like, what is he doing to that keyboard? I don't understand. This is not good music.
That's the best. That's the best. That's the way to listen to it too, though. The way to listen to it, Jason, is the way. I mean, the way to listen to music is the way Jason listened to Frank Ocean that night. He didn't know anything about the artist. He didn't know anything about the artist. Didn't know what he was going to look like. Didn't know what the song was going to be about. And he was just watching it and was saying, "What the fuck is going on here?" And that's
my only bias against him is every time I hear his name, I think of Billy Ocean and think, you know, get out of my car, get into my dreams.
Get out of my dreams.
Out of my dreams. Yeah.
Wait.
Into my car.
Wait. You know, give Jason.
Get in the backseat, baby.
Give Jason some space to do that.
Yeah,
Jason,
go Jay.
Will you sing that? Please do that again.
I can't. Get out of my dreams. No, I can't do it.
Get in the backseat, baby.
That's right.
That's fantastic.
So what I will say about that guy, and you know, this is my last thought on it, is, you know, I respect the guy for having the non-label label, because I think our society is so caught up on labels. Like everybody has to have a fucking label. married or gay or lesbian or Republican or Democrat or Q.
When they added the Q,
my label
to
is I'm a Chris.
LGBT,
That's my point.
Yeah, so everybody has to have this fucking label, and you guys are saying, so you're saying he's setting the cause back. The cause for what? The cause that these people have to have a label.
Yeah, that's I don't know. I think the cause towards equality because I think when people look at him, they're going to say that's a homosexual man, and this is the person I don't want around my kids. If you're from Indiana, like Jason was talking about the people earlier. Like so we live around these people every day. If you're trying to bring a message to them of tolerance, you don't want to bring ammo to the conversation initially. You got to bring in ammo. He needs to bring up the rear, no pun intended. You bring in someone like, for instance, my business mentor who is homosexual, but you wouldn't know that until you knew him. He looks like everyone else at face value, and then you can introduce. You need a Trojan horse to bring in somebody like Ammo. That's my point. Ammo's scary to middle America that isn't used to.
Yeah, and what you just said was like, if you're bringing the cause to somebody, and I don't think Ammo's doing that. It's like if you're raising the flag, he's raising the flag for the tribe. He's not raising the flag to get more people into the tribe. It's like, I think that's the difference.
I think the effect that he's having, he doesn't realize, is that he's hurting some other cause unintentionally for tolerance. Anyway, go ahead, Brian. So
where I was going to take this is that I think the main problem with this is that you're watching a show that is not for your demographic. And what I mean, like your age demographic. People of our age are obsessed with fucking labels. Our kids are not. Yep.
That or obsessed with sex.
And so it's a generation.
Part. Like we're talking about, Jason and I were saying it's MTV, man. Like the whole point of that conversation was to say, yeah, look, I'm available to all shapes, sizes, genders, sexes, hey, let's put it out there, because at some point, like Jason said, the show's going to go there. So I would
disagree. I would say that the statement of the youth being made that, they're above labels or that they don't want it is absolutely the opposite of the truth. They are absolutely labeling themselves in every fucking sense. Yeah. And doing that, coming out with that, I don't care if it's a new, incredibly complicated label. It's a label. I mean, we have 63 I mean, we don't, but it's been said we have 63 genders now. Like, that's a label, man. Like, if you're focused on that, you're focused on your label. Mm-hmm. Not focused on not having a label. You want the label.
Matter of fact, he was the only one that announced a label. Everyone else just said their name.
You're looking for the label. Either you're looking for the fight about the label, and that's all that's really important to you,
right?
Which I understand. Or you just need to fit in your own little niche. I don't know, but the kids are definitely wanting a label, even if it seems, arbitrary or hard to pin down. That's a focus, and it's not good, and it's not good for humanity in the way that
now you think. I was going to say you think that the gender sexuality label is now increasing, because back in the day it was like the nerds and the jocks and the geeks and the dorks, right. Like we had the labels then.
Juice monkeys, booger eaters.
Right. But now the labels are, they're tending towards, or in addition to those, you're also getting the sexual and the gender labels.
Well, those are the most important, is your gender and your sex, or your lack of gender. Or your unique gender.
Well, I think that there's just this desire to be able to identify as yourself, so I think that's where the label comes in. It's like, you can actually identify now as gay. Like, it's okay if I do that, where, maybe, back when we were younger, someone might have been gay, but you don't identify as it, so the label now is actually, that's the sense of freedom. It's kind of an odd thing, right? It's like an oxymoron in itself. It's like the label binds you in some way, but the other way is that it's a sense of freedom that you can actually, in this day and age, you can identify as transgender if you want, and that's okay. You can identify as questioning, and that's okay. So back to, I think, to the point Brian was making about being, an adolescent and trying to figure out where you were in life. And, if you're being bullied, if someone's calling you gay and you're on this fence, you're questioning, but now they're bullying you, and it seems like that's not okay, right? You can't be gay, can you? Right? I'm being bullied about that. That's a bad thing. So maybe now I should push and be something else, or maybe something that I'm not. So I think there's a push for these labels so that people can, again, they can self-identify for the reason of being free to be themselves.
I'll tell you what, gentlemen, the next new person I meet, I'm going to say, hi, I'm Chris. I'm pan nut butter, non-cashew.
You're not on MTV, dude.
And I'm just going to see what happens. I'm just to say,
context.
Yeah. The context is I want them to know that I'm open to all peanut butters except cashew butter. So
I don't think they're going to take nut butter the same way.
Exactly.
So I'm going to be a butt diddler all of a sudden.
You will be. Yes, right.
Wow butter. I love that wow butter. I love that. I looked for that tonight. I couldn't
I
find it.
don't want it.
I spread it on everything.
Oh, sorry. Three of those growls was probably too many.
I was in an adult bookstore one time.
And
there was a man. Okay,
last week.
but one of the times, yeah. There's always somebody when you happen upon one of those. There's always one of those guys. There was a guy that was making that noise, but he would wait like 5 or 6 seconds in between and do it really loudly. And you're like, oh my God. And you're drunk anyways. You're like, let's just go. Let's go. This was a mistake. It was a joke, but it's not funny. We got to go. Seriously, it was a trench coat and
freaking Bigfoot. That's what it was.
Once you go into an adult bookstore and you see,
I'm in the wrong place.
Yeah, like
joke's on me. Rubber fist. Let's get out.
Once you see who you're in concert with, you're like, we got to leave immediately because who knows who's come here and touched this magazine before me or this product. Like let's just. Yeah. But it's not for. It's
you
not
can do
for
that
everybody.
With all areas in life, though. I did it with my wife one time. We were. Where were we? At I don't know, some kind of burger joint before I stopped eating meat, and I looked around. I was like, have you looked around at everybody else? I was like, I don't mean to judge, but everybody's obese. We might be eating the wrong food here.
That has actually turned me away from certain places. If I go into a place and I see that the clientele is not a mirror of who I'd like to be, like my greatest self, I'll double pump right there. I'll be like, oh.
You're like, look, all these people are eating into the grave. Maybe we shouldn't join
I'll
them.
pump fake there. But as Jerry Seinfeld once said, only 10% of society is good looking. Here's something.
A much larger percentage is obese.
Yeah. I got some interesting stuff for you guys. So check this out. If you have a kid, who is the youngest kid out of us, by the way? Is it you, Brian, or you,
Me.
Jason?
It's me.
Jason.
Yep.
It's
Jason. How young is Finn?
She is just 3 and a couple of months.
So born in 2014.
I have the youngest kid.
Yeah.
Oh, you do. So Olivia.
Your daughter, Olivia, was born
Yeah,
after?
she'll be 3 in October.
Oh, okay. Yeah, you do have me beat. I apologize. Go ahead.
Okay. So, but you're both pretty close. So both these babies were born in 2014?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay. So if you had a child born in 2015, so I don't think the numbers are going to be too far off, it's going to cost you $233,610 to raise that child to age 17. That's on average with an annual spend of $14K a year. Does that number seem low to you or high?
It seems low.
What about you, Jay?
Yeah, no, I mean, that's probably about right. Sure.
Brian, do you think it's low, high, or just right?
It's low.
I mean, do you think you spend more than $1,000 on each child a month?
Brian?
I don't think so.
If you factor everything in, I mean, the increase in healthcare, we're spending $200 to $300 a week on food.
For just the children?
That's with, and on just the children. Well, I mean, the wife and I are both eating, but I mean,
there's more being spent. Yeah.
There's more being spent. I mean, so I have child support for my oldest, and I actually think I get by easier. I mean, it's a significant amount, but I probably pay less for him than I do my other two kids that live here. I mean, it's just, I mean, I think $1,000 per kid.
Yeah, because it's not necessarily just the per month normal. It's over. Yeah, you also have
the lifetime too.
Summer expenses and things like that. Like my kids in summer camp, and I'm gonna be sending. Then you got different sports and equipment, and you just start kind of adding these little things up. And I don't know, the number might be on point.
College.
It might be. It just
so here's the thing, Nick.
Like more.
Right, Nick. You and Brian both keep Excel spreadsheet budgets. Do you guys budget for childcare in them? And then I think. So here's the deal. This source came from money.cnn.com, which we'll put in the show notes. But the way that they broke this down was this was the cost of raising the child, not necessarily the extra, like summer camp is a choice. Like you don't need to send them to summer camp for them to survive. This is kind of what, to Brian's point, what child support is based on.
Go, homie.
Which
you're going to come to work with me?
Right. So you consider that, so you consider summer camp childcare. Other people might not.
No, they had to add those things in. If they didn't add those things in, then the number is drastically
You
high.
think so?
If they didn't add in all the extras that you don't have to, I know so, because you can gauge the number of people who will survive and be bred, whose parents do not have that money. If there's three of them, they, and have $14,000 each to plunk down every year on those kids. That cannot be the case unless you include all the other average things that we were speaking of.
I think when Nick's talking about it being childcare, and I can totally relate to that, then that makes sense to me. If it's just summer camp and your wife's at home or you're at home, then that's just a luxury,
like a sports
right?
camp or something like that. That's specific. That doesn't have to do with just the childcare.
Yeah,
exactly.
So I think we cough up about $1,200 a month just in child daycare.
Wow. So I'll address that kind of. I'll address that because that's really. You use $1,200 per or total?
No.
Okay.
No, total.
Wow.
But that's only 3 days a week.
Wow. Okay. So high income households pay around $372,000 over 17 years, by the way. So it does change based on the income you have.
Well, then it's definitely including those
coming
things,
in,
because there'd be no reason to change it.
And the Northeast families, urban Northeast families, have the highest child rearing tab in the country, followed by the urban West. So if you're living here in Nashville, where we are now, you have the lowest cost nationally of child rearing. But here's the ranking of costs. Number 1 is housing. Number 2 is food. And number 3 is childcare.
Oh yeah, man. So, it's really expensive out here for childcare. You're talking, yeah.
Yeah, I would say it costs me more to have the kids cared for than it does to feed them.
Oh yeah.
That's
definitely
amazing.
on housing though, because I would not have this house, so my mortgage would be a third of what it is. Mm-hmm. We would have a 1 bedroom or maybe 2 bedroom somewhere. Right. We would not have a big ass house in a suburb. Right. We'd be somewhere it cost a fraction of where we what we pay now.
Yeah. And you have to factor all that stuff into, I guess, the cost of the child. And yeah, you would live in a totally different place. And I'm with you. So we know that we're going to spend this, let's say, between $230,000 and $375,000 over the time we have our children. Then you multiply that times how many kids you have. I have 3. So that's nearly $1 million. No, it is. It's probably $1 million I'm going to spend on the kids over 17 years. And that blows my mind. But at the same time, that's the cost of raising them. But then we talk about I haven't had a dad really tell me this in a way that was effective or show this to me in a way that was effective. How do you give your kid everything you didn't have, but then also keep your money in check and give them the grace of knowing that it is a luxury? Kids have a really hard time understanding luxury.
Yeah, that's a good one. I mean, for me, everything is kind of incentive based. They get things based on incentives. I rewarded my kid. I rewarded Logan this last week with a Power Wheel that I bought off of Facebook, because now I do think that Facebook is eventually going to just do away with Craigslist and somewhat eBay, because they've made buying and selling things on there so fucking easy. Yep. Like, it is so easy. Yeah. So anyway, and plus it's actually tied to a real person. So it kind of takes away that, that creepiness of meeting somebody in the parking lot from Craigslist, except for you, Jay. I know you like that. So anyway, no, or on your roof, to harken back to the last episode.
I need that good jerk.
So exactly. So, I got him a Power Wheel for like $100. It's a great deal, but I got it for him because he's been like, we set him up a certain amount of tasks he has to do every morning.
You got that for $100? I'm impressed.
Oh yeah. Yeah, actually, it was a steal. I got two. I got one for my daughter to replace the one that somebody had given to us, and a like a $300 one for $100 a piece.
Oh wow, good for you. Nice job.
Yeah. Bought in bulk. So anyway, people out here, they just, one thing you figure out about people that have money is they just give away shit. Like, it's, it doesn't mean anything to them to lose $50 on something or $100 on something. They just want it gone. So, I take complete advantage of that. So anyway, so Logan had tasks that he had to perform, and he's done them all summer long. And that's, he wakes up, he has to make his bed, he has to, do, his daily chores, take the dog out, basically do everything that we normally used to have to do for him. And he has to kind of care for his sister. And we're just kind of conditioning him that. And he's done such a great job that we rewarded him. Now, I always wanted a Power Wheel, or something, similar. Actually, I think it was 4-wheelers when I was growing up, or go-karts. I always wanted one. Never had one because we didn't have, the means. So I want Logan to have those things, but I don't want to just give it to him.
Right.
He's got to earn it. And so I think that's the only way to give them the things that you want, that you wanted to have when you were small, you were little, but to still make it mean something. You still have, to me, that whole chip, to go back to being bullied about being poor, that whole chip on my shoulder of just waking up like you do, wake up in the morning and be like, okay, how am I going to keep going forward?
Right.
I need him to have that chip. I want him to have that chip.
That's a really big thing too. Like,
that chip is so much who I am.
So you want Logan to have, do you want Maddie to have the chip too? Like, do you want both your kids to have the chip, or Jack?
Yeah. I want them I want them to fight. Like, I want them to have that. Like, it's so much of who I am. I don't know how they don't get that from me at some level.
What was the thing that you wanted most that you didn't get, that you said, when I'm a dad, I'm going to make sure that my kids have that?
Ooh. A non-alcoholic father.
Okay. Well, you've succeeded there.
No, a non-abusive father. No, but a parental unit. Those things, like, at a very like high end, looking down. But if you want to say the small things, we have a Switch, a PS4, an Xbox One. We have like every. Well, those are my gifts. Those are for me. Christmas is stupid around here. And I think a reason Christmas is always really stupid around here is because one year we didn't get anything. So, we didn't have Christmas because my dad had lost his job. So like those type of things, like, I think I give too much. One key thing that I wanted to make sure they had is just, the basic fundamentals. Like there's always a food, a fridge stocked. There's a good school. Those are the things that drive me, that, send me in the directions. That's my compass, is to ensure that they have that hierarchy of needs, those basic fundamentals. And then I try to make them earn everything else. I try not to just hand it to them.
I was going to say, with your smallest, how do they, with the smallest ones, like how do they earn it?
Well, I mean, Madison's 4. I mean, she makes her bed. She wakes up every morning and does the things. Right now it's just by giving those. I reward them for completing life skills at this point. Like, okay, we're going to brush our teeth, and you have to know that you're going to be able to do that, and from you being able to do that, now you get this. American
I got a question.
Clothing or something. You know what I mean?
When you do that, when you give it to them, do they know that they're getting it because of that? 2, do you bribe them with the thing so that they'll do the life skills?
No. So I won't say the power was a complete surprise. Right. But, there has been times where I've said, hey, if a good thing is Pokemon cards with Logan. He had to perform a certain way at school, and if he did so many days in a row, he would get rewarded. Is that routine? With a pack of cards,
or is that like that? Just that one time is like every week. Okay,
no, it's routine. It's consistent. Like he has a stack of cards, because we went from having a child that was kind of out. He's very very energetic, and it really gave him a focus and a goal for him to pay attention to that and to meet that goal. And so it actually got to where he every day he would come home. Hey, this is, the first thing he would tell me when I walk in the door is, hey, I was on green today all day. Or, and when he failed, it was, you could see it in his face, because I failed. I didn't get that thing, I was on yellow today, or I got put in the corner, or I was on red, or whatever. Cause they have a colored system at school, hey, I failed. And I know that I'm not going to get my thing, but I'm going to do better tomorrow. It gives them a goal to drive
ask those questions, because I'm going through the same thing with my son right now, where, I want him to have those things, and I'm giving him those things. And most often, they're rewards for good behavior or things like, and I'll tell him, when I give it to him, I'll say, you did a really good job this week, or, he might've gone somewhere with his mom, and done a really good job listening, not asking for things, not, wandering, not, giving her a fit. He did a good job. And I tell him, yeah, you did a good job. So here you go. Cause I basically keep my house stocked with stuff. Right. So, so it's already bought.
Sure.
And I'm just ready to give it to him at these different times. But I'm kind of fixing myself a little bit, because in the beginning, especially when he was like, 3 years old, we'd be at the grocery store together, and he loved going with me, and we'd see these tiny little toys, like things that cost like $1.50, right? Yeah, man. And he loved those things, and it brought such joy to me to give him those things. And I remember, like he was like, when I was a kid, it was usually no, right? I couldn't get those things. So this was great. I could give him these tiny little things, and they were inexpensive, right? So it's not like we're breaking the bank to, poor kid, poor toys over this kid. But what that did create, because I found out that his Nana was doing it as well, but on a larger scale, it created a sense of expectation, that when we went out, he was going to get something. Because when he went with me, he was getting these little things. And when he went with Nana, they were even bigger things. So yeah, every time we went out, man, it was like, so that's the thing that we're fighting against now is, we go out somewhere and Daddy, can I have this? Like, no, dude, I already told you when we left the house, like we're here for shoes for your little sister. Like, that's it. right? Don't ask, because now it's supposed to be more of a reward and not just, fulfilling the expectation.
Right.
I find if gifts to, as rewards, as long as you're tying them to, good behavior, you never want to reward bad behavior. So.
Yeah. And so Jason, you're a guy who doesn't like rich kids, but I'm sure will want your kids to be rich, right? How do you work that juxtaposition out?
Yeah, I don't know if you do, because you want that, and I do have, like, I'm as my wife says, I'm the sucker. You know what I mean? Like she tells me, she's like, you're not allowed to go to Target with the kids, because you come home, they come home with something, and I'm like, right. They tend to, but it's not based on. I mean, I didn't get that, but it's not based. I don't base any of that on, I didn't get it, so I want to do it for them. I just, it's tough because and I do the rewards based thing, but okay, now fuck it. I'll just admit one of my failures is, like, a lot of times, like, I want to do it because it makes them so happy. And I know it's fleeting. I know it doesn't mean anything. And a lot of times you get what Nick was talking about, where there's this expectation. And now I can't even go to freaking Target without thinking that some kind of toy has to be purchased. And also that because we're still not up to the numbers game here, or being able to measure any monetary worth, that they don't quite understand that I've offered, okay, you can get the $3 object, or no, I want the $18.99 transformer. You know what I mean? Like, so it's gotten, that's difficult, but like, I don't have a thing necessarily with, like, I didn't get this, so I want you to have it. But, and I think about that a lot too, because I don't know if that actually has any value. Going back to what BC said about the chip, I'm not sure that the chip of being raised poor is mentally healthy, but it can benefit your life. And I think for you, Christopher and BC, that it has done that in that way. You guys both have something that I don't have. So there is definitely something in there, but it's
I agree with you.
Yeah,
I agree with you.
I think about this all the time. I'm like, we always say, I want, especially when we get there, like, and we can provide it. We think, I want my kids to have everything I didn't have. When the catch there is, you wouldn't have these things if you'd had them when you were a kid. Mm-hmm. You only went for them because you didn't have them. So that does bring into the question whether they have any value.
It's a really fun thing to talk about, and interesting because going back to what Nick said about singing earlier, for example, you get involved in your own culture and you start to think back, like, man, what opportunities did I leave on the table because I didn't even have access to those opportunities. I think about, like, how late my family was to modern computing and programming and the internet, and how those lessons weren't shared with me. My dad knew about them. My dad used them, but he didn't pass it down in a meaningful way to me, at least, where I could, in a language I could hear, because I remember being woefully late to just basic computer knowledge, modern computers, that is, because when Texas Instruments came out and, the Macintosh first came out and all that, we had those computers when I was young, but we were just playing games on them and stuff like that. So, but I took a walk today and thought about the chip. I think about the chip a lot, actually. I thought about my chip and how it made me such a fighter, and it made me so competitive. But I also think about the fact that it also gives me bouts of inadequacy all the time. I never feel good enough. And not feeling good enough makes you make really poor decisions sometimes, or it disrupts your discipline, or, so it's this weird balance where the chip gives you discipline, especially in short bursts, like you just hit the nitrous button, but it also disrupts your discipline. And so you start going in circles a little bit. So it's an interesting thing. Like for me, the thing I wanted that I didn't get that I want my kids to have is opportunities. So clubs, schools, all these little things. That's my primary deal. And when it comes to like the little things though that annoy me about how spoiled my kids are, I think about the fact that like we make food for my youngest daughter exactly to her specifications. And
same here. Pisses me off.
When I was young, you just fucking ate it.
Yeah.
And if you
just fucking ate it.
And if you weren't going to eat it, you took the risk of getting your ass whooped by throwing it away behind their back. Like you had a plan to get rid of the food because you knew you weren't going to eat it. My mom used to make liver and beets like as a meal. Like what was she thinking? Like
I had liver and onions pretty close.
Oh, well, our liver had onions too. It's like liver, onions, and beets. Like seriously?
Oh, God.
Like I'm not eating that.
No,
I'm
she
not.
just threw that beets in it. Make you mad.
But the beats what happened when you did.
Yeah.
Liver and onion and beets and
That's
beets.
terrible, right? So, but my youngest daughter, I made her waffles this morning, and she was like, "They're not crispy enough."
Right.
No, they're waffles. So waffles are a treat. Homemade waffles, not like this isn't an Eggo here. I'm like, I whipped this up by hand,
Right?
And you know how conditioned I am. I put those motherfuckers back on the toaster oven, on the waffle maker, made them a little bit more crisp.
It's a modern thing with having access because we're like, okay, like my wife and I are struggling with this right now to where we have to. It's awful, and it's actually worse than where you are. It's because it's like we should just run out of anything to feed them whatsoever. They just won't eat anything, and it's like now we made dinner Sunday night. And I put it out, and I don't want that. And I was like, well, you're going to be hungry because that's all that there is. Like I felt like my mother all of a sudden. Like,
so what age though? Like I feel like there's a certain age where you can do that, but there's a certain age, like when they're younger, like you can't. Like, and maybe not, but that's where I kind of look at like they're 18 months, they're 2. It's like you kind of got to roll with it a little bit.
When your wife has a specific diet, it gives carte blanche to the other kids to have a specific diet. And my wife's a vegetarian and a very specific type of vegetarian. And then so now they witness this
specificity of diet.
And curation of diet where she's doing it in an adult way. So then you start thinking you're crazy. Like, well, what's wrong with somebody wanting their cheese all the way melted on their quesadilla you just made for them? What's wrong with, someone suddenly not liking blueberries out of the, or not liking strawberries, or they don't like the pink lemonade, just this kind of lemonade. And what's wrong with having exactly what you want? But I think there is something wrong. I think what's wrong with it is that's not the way the world works.
Cheese in the quesadilla, that's a requirement.
Yeah, I think
you're not going to melt the cheese. Don't do
the crispiness, of the shell and all the shit that she has. But I don't think the real world is like that. That's why I think
that's the thing. It's like that's what I've been kind of thinking about with my kids. Just the simple things like my daughter. Again, she's almost 3. Asking, so we put her food in front of her, and we give her a fork. Or a spoon. She doesn't want that spoon. She wants the Minnie Mouse spoon. Okay, so now check it out. It's because she's privileged.
I've had that.
I remember that
because she has multiple options.
She has more than one spoon.
So she can choose. I've given her the ability to have the choice. So if she wants the Minnie Mouse spoon over the pink spoon, then she feels that that's why you bought it, right? So I could choose. So sometimes I think about that, and I think that I'm giving my kids way too many options. It's like, look, I'm going to give you guys going to get a blue bowl. Both of you, you're going to get a blue bowl. No, forget this. Blue is normally for boys, and pink, we're going to do we can just green. Everybody's going to get a green. We're going to get black bowls. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's it. There's no options. Okay, what about silverware? Same thing. Black silverware. You know what I'm saying? Like, you're getting everything. That's what you're getting. The blue bowls.
Or the blue bowls.
Yeah, you can't stand
I
that.
hate the blue bowls.
If either of those bowls crack, we put them back together with Black Hawk.
So yeah, that's what I'm thinking, is that's my thing now. I feel like they're privileged. So same thing with the toys, all this other stuff. I've given them so many options. That it now is crippling to me, because now I have to spend the extra time to support those options.
Yes. You have to do so much extra. Not only have to spend the extra time, whether it's working or whatnot, to try to provide the ability to provide these options, but when it comes into it, I mean, it's so much extra. Like my wife and I have said, I finally said to her, I was irate at when I figured that, like, we say to the kids, "What do you want for dinner?" And I was like, "Do you know how many times my mother asked me what I wanted for dinner?"
Count it. Right.
None. That's how many times.
0 times. Yeah.
Right. I don't.
Yeah.
You know, maybe every 4 months on a Friday night, you know, she'd ask me if I wanted pizza. You know, like, that wasn't nobody ever had a fucking discussion with Jason about what he wanted for
options.
Dinner. That wasn't on the table. I came home and Mom made it, and if I didn't eat it. And it's not one of these like, oh, well, that's the past. No, because that was exactly what should have happened. They provided the food. I ate it. It was good or not, doesn't matter. I survived. And that's what they were there to do. They weren't there to make sure that I was incredibly pleased with my meal. And we've gone to that. Why are we? How did we get here? I don't know. And we feel like it's
so here's where
or we're assholes.
Here's where I think we get into the trap sometimes. And I think we've had a discussion about something similar before, but basically it's a matter of our convenience, you know? So it's like, what makes it easier on us, right? So we don't have to hear any complaining or, you know, moaning about it. Okay, what do you want, right? So I can satisfy that. So we don't have to, you know, force feed you something or not put you.
That's true. And I've always said that, but you know what? My mother didn't hear any complaining about the meals.
Why not?
She didn't endure it. I don't know. What did she do? She didn't whip my ass, but I guess I just didn't eat.
Yeah.
No, she made me sit there. She made me sit at the table until I ate it. I would sit there for an hour and a half.
That's what I did.
While the family
so she
was
would
watching
do it, right?
TV.
She'd sacrifice the time to force you to eat it. And some parents, they beat you, you know what I'm saying, to make you eat it.
I don't think she was sacrificing. That's what I'm thinking. Like, I'm sacrificing the time. Like, I think we've just been so conditioned that we have to be so sensitive to our children. Like, oh, there's tears and they're at the table. Like, I don't think my mom was sacrificing any time while I sat at the table, pouting over not.
Maybe she was doing
beans.
Something else,
right? And in your memory, it was kind of like, this is what I'm doing and I'm in misery, but you can't see it from her view, which is like, oh my God, I've been here an hour and a half. This is not how I thought the day was going to go.
Yeah, because you could have gone to take a bath or whatever.
But we do have too many options.
She's got to be there with you. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Like today, for example, I came upstairs from my office to find that my daughter and her friends had taken my real dishes and my real food outside and to make stuff with it. It's like, it's all over my driveway.
Like pretend stuff?
No. This is real food. Real food from my refrigerator and pantry.
What were they making? Dude,
kids make potions. Kids make all kinds of shit. The point is
right, like they made make-believe stuff out of real things. That's what I was
getting at. And the point is that it strikes a part of my upbringing that I haven't been able to kill yet, and I can't decide if I want to kill it or not, which is you don't understand the value and scarcity of food and money. So because of that, you've taken all this food that came from whole check out to the driveway and are basically wasting it because you want to have fun. Or
I think you might owe it to the rest of the starving people
the starving kids around the world,
but just in this country.
Exactly, like the wasting of things. The wasting of things. Yes, Jason, exactly. The wasting of things gets under my skin at a core level, but in a core way. But at the same time, I think that came about from a different Chris that lived a different life, that took those things more seriously. Like when you're, for instance, if you're an adult and you're broke, then money is everything. If you're an adult and you're not broke, then money is not everything. It's just that simple. So food,
right.
We're not hurting for the food she took out there. That's no big deal. She took it out, no big deal. But old Chris is like, no, even though it's kind of like food we're not going to miss and snack foods and things like that we probably don't even need to be eating, that's still wasting. And it's a tough battle for me. It really is. Should I even lie to my kids? I'm like, they want stuff. I'm like, I don't have any money. I don't even have the heart to tell them. Like, I don't know a way to explain to them that we're just not going to spend things on frivolous things. Even if we have the money to get it, I don't want to get it because it's not important. But to a kid, it's super important, right? So the cop out way is to just say, "Oh, we don't have the money, can't do it."
Yeah, but everything it can be important to a kid. I have that discussion with my wife. Like, she's like, "Oh, but if we did this, it would really make the kids happy." And I'm like, if I made a fucking carnival in the backyard,
right.
it would make them happy. This really doesn't have anything to do with it. We're not talking about just they happy clowns. In life.
No killer clowns.
But
no clowns.
So I mean, yeah, there's a cutoff there. And
have you ever lied to your kid, Jay? Like or Nick or Brian? Have you guys lied and just said it? Like, to me, like, for instance, spanking is like the quick, effective way to get your kid to do what they want, or threats or ultimatums, the quick, effective way, but it's not the best way. And then when it comes to the stuff they want, the quickest, most effective way is just to say, I don't have the money. Do you guys do that ever?
No,
is that like
I've never done that one
for you guys.
I have, but it's not a lie. Even if, I don't want to allocate the money. Is the same as I don't have it.
Is it?
Like, I don't have it.
For
yeah,
that thing.
I don't have the money.
Right. I got it for something else.
Stupid
Just not
shit.
for that.
I got it. Yeah.
Question: do your kids get money from other places? Like, would you consider spending their own money on these things? I've thought about doing that every once in a while with my son, just so he can understand how that works, like how the money works, so he could save up.
I think it's important. I think it's really important. When I was a kid, there is one memory. My first memory of just paying for things with money. And I don't know if I brought this up on here before. Is I bought Mike Tyson's Punch Out with rolled pennies.
That's awesome.
Classic.
And I did. That's how I paid for Mike Tyson's Punch Out. And it was the third Nintendo game I had. And, it's one of those where we only had 3 games for like the first 4 years, but
you were good at it.
Game brought joy to millions.
But I think it was my daughter it was Logan, because he also wants this Pokemon watch thing that you can get. And he was like, well, Daddy, I've got a lot of money in my piggy bank. So I'm going to get my money out of there and I'm going to buy that, So, he starts to somewhat understand, and Chris, that, you guys have gone out of town and, we've watched the dogs, gone up there and, taken them out and stuff. And what was my request?
And I leave that money right there on the table. And so you can tell Logan why he earned it. Yep.
Yeah. And, and it sits there on the table. So when we've done that, and it's only like $5, we would do it for free, but, just, hey, if you would, we're glad to watch, do that, let the dogs out. And most nights it was me hanging out at your house watching your really nice television.
Thank you.
With the dogs, just kind of, keeping them company. I actually brought beer up there and drank beer on your couch watching your TV.
It's a nice situation. You get away from the house, the kids, and you got the nice little friendly dogs there too.
Did you watch
No.
Did you watch any porn
I'll go take those
while you were at his house?
I did not. I didn't watch any. I think actually when I turned the television on, it was on MTV as well. So
it makes sense.
I changed your channel.
That's why Chris has never asked me to watch his dogs.
I tell you what, though, man, watching sports in 4K, that is like porn, dude.
Especially soccer. Soccer is fantastic.
Yeah.
Because the green, like the length of the field, it's like the richness of the green of the
That's
field.
that pansexual non-binary porn right there, baby.
But Nick would tell you, but Nick would
Balls
tell
all
you
over
that,
the field.
that USA soccer
Yeah,
on
right.
4K television.
Right.
Well played. Jason, bring us home on this.
Oh, no, I can't because it's such a fail. I fail at it constantly. And I mean, I guess maybe that's the plight of the honest parent, but yeah, you do your best to make sure that they know about money and earning things, and that it's not all free, but you struggle with that internal battle of I want them to have it. I want to see that joy in their face, but then they turn out, sometimes to be these rotten little fuckers that just expect it. So what do you do? I don't. I think the only counterbalance is you focus as much as you can on the other parts, the non-material parts, the parts that you aren't giving them monetarily, or at least that they should match. So maybe whatever you give your kids in a monetary, physical way, maybe that cannot exceed what you give them in an emotional and understanding way.
Yeah, that's a great place to stop. Gentlemen, it's a bomb-ass conversation.
Yeah, and Brian, I'm using that budget thing, just so you know.
Still.
Yeah, me too, buddy. Yeah, that's good. That's
good artist borrow, Nick. Great artist still.
That's right.
I love it. All right, boys. I'll talk to each of you tomorrow. And again, of course, next week. And we have some surprises on the Twitter. So if you follow us on Twitter at Married Not Dead or at _Married Not Dead, then you will get those updates as well. So, gentlemen, I'll talk to you next week. And for sure tomorrow.
All right, fellas.
All right.
Be easy.
All right.
Good night, boys.
Peace.
You've been listening to Married Not Dead. To find show notes, read awesome blog posts, and find links to all of the products or services suggested during the show, please visit our blog at marriednotdead.org. If you haven't already, you can subscribe to our podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play, or the podcast app of your choice. After you subscribe, please don't forget to rate and review. If you do, feel free to stop any of us in the streets and demand a hug. We'll owe you one. Lastly, you can find and follow the M&D crew on Twitter at _marriednotdead
Today's
and Facebook
podcast
by
is brought to
searching
you
for the
by
Married
Audible.
Not Dead
Get a free
podcast page.
audiobook download and 30-day
Until
free
next
trial
time,
at
on behalf of Nicholas Buggs, Brian Comer,
audibletrial.com/MND
and Jason
podcast.
McConnell.
There are
I'm
over
Chris
180,000
See you
titles
next
to
week.
choose from, including one of my personal favorites, How to Get Filthy Rich in Rising Asia by Mohsen Hamid. Do not judge this book by its title. The ending had me crying in the middle of a 4-hour flight to Los Angeles. It's made even better by Mohsen's narration, and you can download How to Get Filthy Rich in Rising Asia or any other audiobook of your choice today. Again, for listeners of the Married Not Dead podcast, Audible is offering a free audiobook download with a free 30-day trial to give you the opportunity to check out their service. So, to download your free audiobook, go to audibletrial.com/MND podcast. Again, that's audibletrial.com/MND podcast to get your free audiobook today. You will not regret it.